Hello, hello, magical souls. How are we doing? I'm always here like a couple of minutes early, kind of getting myself settled. And then before I know it, the time comes around and I'm like, oh, hang on, it's 2 o'clock already. Let me just tag everyone so we know where we're at. Okay, okay. So hopefully you can start to find me. Oh yeah, I can see somebody's on already. So as you are arriving, please do say hello in the comments. Uh, well, I love to know that you're here. And also when you comment, it helps to let other people know that we're here, that we're live, that we are doing it. So please do that. Hello, Clara. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, how are we doing today? How are we feeling? Day 3 of the 2024 Unbound Book Writing Challenge. This is our final day, our final session. The group will remain open until next Tuesday, so you have plenty of time to catch up. If you want to re-watch any of the sessions, you can. To ask any questions that you have bubbling up, all of that good stuff. But this is the last part of the training, the activation, whatever you want to call it. So hi to Jane, Terry, hello, Emily, hello. Um, Emily, I saw your email as well, so I haven't had a chance to respond yet, but thank you for that. So how are we feeling today? On day 1, we were diving into how to get really clear on what your book wants to be and like enter into this co-creative partnership with your book. Yesterday we were talking about how to be confident or more confident, and really step more fully into the transformational author you're here to be. Hey Helen, and today we are diving into how to create a writing practice that feels really aligned for you, because often the way that we've been taught and we've been told to write feels far too rigid and linear for magical unbound beings like us. So we want to find a way that feels aligned, and that will be different for everyone, but I'm going to be talking about some ideas that will hopefully help to shift the way you have been thinking about writing your book. So we're talking about the how. We're also going to talk a little bit about the what, the what to write, and um, having something in place that will help you to, like, even when it feels like you're going off in different directions with your writing, or there's a lot of different things you could be writing about. We'll talk about like having one central idea which will keep you anchored in what your book wants to be. um Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, so as ever, if you're live, say hello. Hello, Joe. And if you're watching the replay, use the hashtag replay. So I pulled a card for us today. Before I go into that, like, how are you feeling as we are here on the final day of the challenge? Pop 1 or 2 words in the comments to let me know what vibe you are bringing to this session today. So I pulled a card for us, and it is this one. It's not childlike curiosity, which we got for the last 2 days. It is this one. Again, from Tara Jackson's amazing embodied wisdom deck, Magic. So I'm going to read the message for this one. There is magic everywhere, magical moments happening all the time. Look and you will find them. You are also magic. And if you choose this card, it's a reminder for you of that magic you hold within. You are here to be the magician of your own life. You are here to co-create with the divine, bringing heaven to earth at this time. You are magic. Yes. I feel like we all need to be reminded of that continually. And I do aim to do that when I am holding space for magical writers like you. But yes, It feels like a very timely reminder as we are coming to this stage of the challenge process, the challenge week. Let me see what is happening. Hey, Carrie, Helen, I've been playing with images, an initial great result, but then quickly became hilarious and useless. Was that with AI? You have been playing with images, um, because sometimes they can be a bit random, can't they? Um, or have I totally misunderstood that, Helen? Um, but it is interesting to try and kind of capture the visual element of our book. Clara, you are ready and inspired as have transcribed the first voice noted writing. Thanks for your nudgingly helpful encouragement. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, Helen, yeah, it was AI. Yeah, it's really interesting talking about the voice note there, Clara. It's something we'll talk about a bit more when we're talking about the writing process, because we get to, yeah, do things in our own way. So speaking our words can be a really powerful way to do that. Emily, I'm doing well today. I'm feeling a lot of energy about my book, but also generally with ideas about lots of things I want to do, create, but perhaps a bit all over the place. So conversation on practice will be very helpful. And welcome Mary as well. And Jen, yes, day 3, exciting. Yeah, you won't be alone in that, Emily. You know, we are like certainly in this community, like everyone's creative, aren't they? Like all beings are creative. It's part of our inherent nature, and particularly in this community, um, you know, we tend to have a lot of ideas bubbling at any one time. So being able to focus on one to get it to the point of completion can feel challenging. So you're definitely not alone in that. And I'm going to talk about that how we can manage that abundant creativity. Okay, right. Just keeping an eye on the comments. What do I want? What do I want to say? Let me gather myself. So, as I said, you cannot be behind with this process. You can never be behind with this process. You can't be behind with the challenge process. Like you've got access to the recordings, you can catch up, you can watch them out of order. It's all good. And you can't be behind on your book writing journey either. Like the timing is always perfect. It's always unfolding as it needs to. Sometimes we feel like, oh, I thought I'd be further along by now. But what we've been doing is living our books rather than actually in the active writing process. So when we can come at it from that place of trust and openness, like it's gonna feel much better for us. Before I dive into today's, a couple of things. First, I want to talk to a question, not a question. It's a question that we can be asking ourselves, and I know it's something that's come up for quite a few in this group, so I want to speak to it. And that is this question, like, but who would want to read this? So I'm going to speak to that a little bit, and then I'm going to share more details of, like, if you're wondering what your next steps are, I'm going to share a couple of options for you very briefly, and then we will move into the kind of content for today, the activation for today. If you have any questions at all bubbling up as I'm speaking, which relate to what I'm talking about or not, it can be completely random, please do pop them here and I will either speak to them as I'm going through or I'll come back to them at the end. But you can continue asking questions for the next few days and whilst this group is open as well. So a number of people have either posted in the group or messaged me privately and said one of the challenges is this question, like who would want to read my book? Because, you know, it does take substantial time and energy to birth a book. That is a fact. So if you're going to do that, you want to make sure there are people out in the world who are going to be wanting to receive it. Now, I am very much of the belief, and I've seen this like in like with my own books and also with like the many books that I've held space for, many of which are out there on the shelf behind me. If you are feeling the call to write a book, there can't not be people out there who would want to read it. Like you are not the only person in the world who is feeling this kind of energy around what it is you're called to write about. It's the way the world, it's the way the universe works. Yeah, like nothing is wasted. So if you're feeling, particularly when it comes from this place of calling, it's not you writing from this place of should. If you're feeling this pull to write something, like there are people out there in the collective who are wanting to read your book. Also, very often we are writing the book that we would have loved to have read 10, 5, 2, 1 year ago. 6 months ago. Things move so quickly now. We are writing a book that would have supported our younger selves in one way or another. And if that is the case, like, we're all interconnected. So there can't help but be people out there who are wanting to read your book. It's about really trusting that call and trusting that sense of interconnectedness. Often when this is bubbling up, it's when we've been writing in isolation. We've been operating in isolation. So, we've had this idea, we feel this sense of enthusiasm, and then we start to question it because we are, we're trying to do it all on our own. And we're just get stuck in this internal dialogue. So what can be, Carrie, you're saying amen to that, what I needed then. Exactly. So what can be really powerful, like I've talked about, it's what we're doing here. We're writing in community, we're co-creating in community, because then you get to share the ideas that are coming up, you get to share doubts that are coming up. You get to workshop your ideas, you like have interactions with people where it's like, oh my goodness, I love that idea of what you're writing about. I would want to read that book, and it helps to give you that affirmation. Because we're human, we do need a bit of affirmation from time to time. Also, like, to start sharing, I've talked about this a little bit this week, throughout the week, but sharing as you go. So sharing snippets of your writing in whatever way, on whatever platform you use, whether that's social media, it could be email, it could be blogging, it could be articles, it could be, if you're speaking, either online or in person, it could be with any groups you run. Like, you start to share the ideas that are coming through, and then it becomes this interactive, dynamic process. Like, people are interested because you're having conversations with people. And I know a lot of you who are feeling this, like, I know you're out there doing this work that is related, at least in some way, to the book that you're writing. So, there are people there who are already interested in it because you're connecting with them already. But we get to amplify it through the process, and obviously once the book is out in the world. So, there's a few different layers of how to navigate that question when it's coming up. Okay, so I talked there about, when we're writing in isolation, when we're creating in isolation, it can feel really lonely, and we can start to get up in our own heads and talk ourselves out of writing our book. And I do not want that for you. Hopefully this week has given you at least a taste of what it's like to be held in a supportive, co-creative community like this. Particularly when we're writing these transformational books, there can be challenges along the way, like there will be challenges along the way. But when we are together, like, it makes all the difference. So if you've been wondering, like, I'm not quite sure what my next step is, I have just opened a new community space for Unbound writers. So we've had memberships in different programs before. What I've done is I've brought everything together in one space, and it's called the Unbound Writers Collective. What it is a community space. It's not on Facebook, it's over on School, which is a different platform. And the idea behind that is sometimes Facebook can feel quite overwhelming. Like, we don't kind of get notifications when things are happening. It can be quite frustrating. And also a lot of Unbound writers don't feel particularly comfortable on Facebook. So we have our own dedicated group over on this platform, which is much more intentional. But as well as the community with like support where you can get your questions answered, you can connect with each other, there are like a whole vault, a treasure trove of on-demand step-by-step trainings, like each of my programs that I've created around the book writing process, like to take you from the first idea to book out in the world. There are trainings over there to take you through every step of the process to write, publish, and promote your book. We are going to have 2 live writing sessions every month over in the Unbound Writers Collective. That's something we already do in the Unbound Writing community, but that's going to be the new home for those sessions, and they happen on Zoom. I open up the space for us, like we come together, you have around 45 minutes of time for your writing, and then we come back at the end for a check-in. And there will also be at least 2 Q&A sessions per month. So it's designed to be like whatever you need in your book writing journey, that is a place for you. So I would love for you to come and join us over there. Our existing members in our different containers of support are already landing in the space. I'm going to pop the link in the comments. It's just opened, and there is a very special introductory rate at the moment because I wanted to make it kind of a no-brainer for you to come and continue the journey over there. So to get access to all of that for a whole year, for an annual pass, it's just $99. Like, it's a bit wild because it could be like easily be $99 or more a month, but I wanted to make it super accessible. So take a look, and I would love you to join us over there. So that is one of the options. The other option, Helen, you're saying I love it being on something other than Facebook. Yeah, I know many of us have a love-hate relationship with Facebook. And I think, I've always hosted Facebook groups, but it has started to feel quite overwhelming, and also like coming onto Facebook doesn't always feel great. School, like to me, I'm a member of other communities over there, it feels much clearer and more intentional. So I hope you will come and join us over there if you feel called. I would love to continue this journey with you. If you are looking for a bit more support, or a lot more support, if you're looking to kind of go all in, you want to write and publish your book over the next 12 to 18 months, we are looking for our next cohort of authors to work with us and with me at the Unbound Press. So what that looks like is having my one-to-one support. You still get access to the community, but you also have my one-to-one support, like my feedback and accountability throughout the writing process. And then you get to work with me and the team at the Unbound Press, for editing, design, marketing, when we take you through the publishing process to have your book birthed into the world. And, the Unbound Press is, kind of a community within a community. Like some of you here are authors with us who have already published a book or are in the process of it. Like, it really is this amazing family of authors. So if you are interested in working in that way, let me know and we can have a conversation about it. Okay. I was talking we had a team meeting at the Unbound Press today. We have one, once a month. And we were talking about how, like, for many of us, and I know it will be the same for many of you as well, it's felt like, we've all had like individual challenges and stuff going on. Often at times, even though we're part of communities and at the Unbound Press, we're part of a team, sometimes it's felt like we've all been on our own journey this year. It's kind of the nature of these times, like we're all kind of going through some kind of initiation. So even if you're not able to be active in a community all the time, knowing that there is a group there, there's a space there, there's a team there, whatever it is, who've got your back, and that you can come into it when you have the capacity, when you are needing and wanting that support, is so, so powerful. So, like, we always get to experience these spaces in an unbound way, in a way that works for you. Um, but I feel like it's even, it's becoming more and more important to have these spaces, to have these communities where, yeah, obviously we have the intention of writing books, but the support goes deeper than that. Okay. Any questions? Let me know. Let's dive in to today. So, as I said in the description for today's session, often the ways we've been taught to write are really stifling for magical unbound beings like you, like me. Because I know that was the case when I first started writing my first book. Everything I could find about that advice around writing a book, it was very linear, it was quite dry. It was like, well, you just show up every day and write, don't you? Like, duh. And I did kind of manage to do that for Heal You're in a Good Girl for a period of time. And I managed it by writing, by just giving myself permission to write 30 minutes a day. Like, anything more than that felt like a lot for me. But still, the idea of writing in this like linear way, like planning my book out, writing it from start to finish, just felt quite limiting to me. And certainly when I came to my second book, Unbound, but there was no way it was going to happen that way. Like, that book was much more transformational for me in the writing process. I had all sorts of stuff going on in my life. I was like navigating a move from the UK to the US. I'm back in the UK now, but moved over there with Mr. H. So I was navigating that. That also put a strain on our relationship, that move. So I was, we were navigating that at the same time. Both of my parents had serious health challenges during that time. There was so much, and I was moving more deeply into the work that I'm here to do. I was in perimenopause. I didn't realize that. I was like experiencing these huge transformations, and I was trying to write a book at the same time. So there was no way that it was going to happen as a linear process or just showing up every day and like rigidly writing my way through. So I had to find a different way to write. And that's what brought me to Unbound writing. Now, there are a lot of different layers to creating a writing practice in an unbound way. I'm going to speak to some of them today just to give you some ideas. Now, it would be good to hear, is there anything in particular that feels challenging for you when it comes to actually showing up to write? Emily, you mentioned earlier about like having lots and lots of different ideas, and it's like, well, which one do I focus on? But what else kind of gets in the way of you writing? Pop it in the comments and let me know. The first thing to acknowledge and be aware of and to invite into our process is, I spoke there about this expectation that we're going to write in a linear way, and be able to show up consistently, in the same kind of way, the same kind of energy every single day. Jay, you need a routine. I'm going to talk about that. Because the fact is, we are cyclical beings. I've spoken about this. I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before. So actually, having a routine, yes, we can create a routine, but we also need to acknowledge, have an awareness of this cyclical nature that we have, because it's unrealistic to expect ourselves to show up in the same way every day. We are being impacted by all sorts of different cycles. like the cycle of the moon, our menstrual cycle if we have one. You know, I just talked about perimenopause earlier. That definitely impacted the way I create and the way I write. The cycle of the seasons, where you are in your life, and also the creative cycle. Like, the creative cycle is not all one flavour. It's not all about writing. It's not all about showing up and doing the thing. There are stages in the cycle where we need to be resting, we need to be stepping back, we need to be in the void. And if we don't kind of allow that, we will be forced into the void, which sounds very, very scary. So, yes, it is really powerful and important to have some kind of structure, to have some kind of routine, to be dedicated to our process, to our practice. But around that, we need to have this awareness that we are not going to feel the same every day. We're not bringing the same energy to our process every day. And if we try to force ourselves to, then that's when we get jammed up. Emily, you're saying, I know it feels very overused, but I feel very, very time poor. Like right now, my energy is high, but I work full time, have two children. I need to exercise for my mental health. Perhaps I can lower my expectations and just commit to 10 minutes each day and then bigger chunks when I can make that happen. Yeah. I mean, it feels overused because, like, we are time poor. Like, I imagine everyone in this group feels time poor in one way or another. Um, you know, we have a lot that we are holding, each one of us. I mean, I don't have children, but still, I feel like I'm in awe of people who have children, being able to, like, you know, and everything that you are holding. But, um, you know, many of us are part of the kind of sandwich generation, like where you do have children, and then maybe you have other caring responsibilities with older parents or family members. Like many of us here have our own businesses, so there are other things to be working on around that and holding space for our clients if we're working with clients. And that doesn't even, you know, not even talking about what, like, the general shit show that is going on in the world at any one time that kind of, you know, can drain our capacity. So absolutely, like having this awareness that we're cyclical. So there will be seasons when actually it looks like there's not much happening with your writing process. Maybe you're not showing up that actively, but knowing there is always something bubbling under the surface. So, you know, having that sense of kindness and compassion for ourselves. Sometimes we are living our books. Sometimes we are just letting stuff percolate. But also, when it comes to writing, and what you just said, Emily, like when I was first writing Here We Are and a Good Girl, it was like 30 minutes a day I would aim for, but often it wasn't 30 minutes a day. In the actually in the Unbound Writers Collective, this is something we do in the Unbound Writing community. We have regular writing sprints, which sounds a bit energetic. You can call it an Unbound Writing saunter or stroll if you prefer. I'm totally here for that vibe. But the invitation then, when we are like having a dedicated period of time where the invitation is to write a little bit every day or most days, is to write it for at least 5 minutes. So if you write for 5 minutes a day, you're all good, you're all set. Maybe some days you write more, but it's just keeping in the energy of your book. So this idea that we hold ourselves away in an office for hours on end, and this is an idea that's very often, that has been perpetuated by male writers who probably had a wife or other people taking care of other responsibilities. Like, that's not, it's not going to work for us. There may be times when we are able to do that. Maybe we're able to take ourselves off on retreat or something like that. Or, you know, we're able to take ourselves out for a writing day. Amazing. But it's about not waiting for those times, not waiting for this space to like magically open up, because it won't. So even if you can like find a little furtive 5 minutes for your book. I think Elizabeth Gilbert in Big Magic, she talks about it's almost like you have like that energy of like you're having an affair with your book. So you will just find like you if you're having an affair with someone, you always find time to get together, even if it's just 5 minutes. So kind of bringing, I don't know if that resonates you, but bringing that vibe to your book. And you can, that can get you through. That can get you through. It keeps the energy there, it takes the pressure off because it's not like, oh, I have to try and find like an hour for my book today. It's like if I can find 5 minutes, that's enough. It's going to keep the connection going. Because if you spend 5 minutes on the page or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, amazing. What happens then, like you plug into the energy, and some days it'll feel like, oh yeah, like I'm feeling it. Other days it's like, oh, I feel like I'm going through the motions. But then what happens the rest of the day is like in the background, under the surface, like your book is still in that creative process and your unconscious mind is bubbling away. So next time you come to the page, or you know, when you're out for a walk or in the shower, like new insights are starting to drop in. Emily, you're saying I totally get that, having an affair with my book. Love that. Yeah, yeah. Usually in February around Valentine's Day. I'm not a big fan of Valentine's, but we do like a whole romancing your book month in the Unbound writing community, so that's quite fun. So allowing your cyclical nature, like knowing that it's not just about the writing. There will be some parts of your cycle or the cycle when you feel more called to like editing, like the real nitty gritty. There will be other times when it's like there's no way I could do that, and just like in the bringing it through. There will be times when it feels like there's nothing happening, and that's still part of the process. There will be times when you're feeling more outward, you want to be sharing more of your writing. There'll be times when you're feeling like more creative with the new ideas, and there will be times when you're refining what's already there. So acknowledging that is going to make a huge, huge difference and stop you falling, well, help you not to fall into self-judgment too often, because I'm not going to guarantee that will stop you completely. Terry, sometimes my energy levels drop after 1.5 hours, even if I feel on a roll when I start. It seems exhausting to revisit my past and relive it. If I were in a retreat house for 8 hours a day, it would be overwhelming. Yeah, yeah. I'm the same. Like even if I have a whole day, like to work on like my book, if I'm in the process of writing a book, I will probably write for maybe kind of, I don't know, a couple of hours maybe, but probably not in one go. I went on a solo retreat at the beginning of this year, and I just gave myself permission, although I had like this time to myself. I could, in theory, have written for the whole day. That was not going to happen. So I wrote in 1 hour chunks. So throughout the day, my aim was to write for 3 hours, but that would usually be in like 1 hour chunks of time. So, we want to think about what feels aligned for you at any particular time. Emily, you're saying, Terry, I really feel this too. I'm typing up handwritten notes at the moment, which I wrote over the summer. It was a terrible time, and I can't just squeeze this in around life. It holds a lot of emotion, and I have to be mindful of this. Yeah. So there are parts of your writing that will feel lighter, and there are times that are going to feel it's like there's more to hold here, and it's going to feel like more of a process for me. So it's about like knowing, like tuning into how you feel and going, actually today feels like a day when I can go there. I've got a bit more space, I've got a bit more capacity, So I'm gonna do that, and like really thinking about ways you can support yourself if it is kind of bringing up emotion. And there are other days where it's like, actually, I haven't got capacity for that. I need to do something that feels a bit lighter. And there will be parts of your writing, your process, that you are able to come to on that day. Um, Emily, Emily Doe. Two Emilys here. Honestly, for me, it's been incredible to realize how just trusting the process and starting needed to happen in order for the book to come through. And the experiences I'm having now are totally supporting the story I'm telling on the pages. My book is totally collaborating with me, and I wouldn't be without this new companion in my life. Love that. Clara, yes, my book changed shape due to the immersion in the toxic past, and I realised that I didn't want to write a whole book about that, rather use some of it at the beginning and the stuff that's going on now, which I feel more aligned with. Yeah, yeah. And we get to discover that through our process. Yeah. So through the writing, um, so acknowledging the cyclical nature, mixing it up with the amount of time, just noticing what you have capacity for. When it does feel like you have lots to share, like different projects that you want to work on, it can be helpful to think of or feel into your book as the foundation for all of that. So yes, you might have like social media posts that you want to create, you might have a program that you want to run, you might have like blog posts, articles that you want to write. How can your book be the foundation for those different pieces? Now, this won't always apply, but very often, what you're writing about for your book, you can take pieces of that or be inspired by pieces from your book to share as social media posts. Like, I do this all the time. If something's coming up in my writing for my book, I will allow that to inspire, or even take it directly, like a couple of paragraphs for a social media post or an email that I need to write or a blog. Same with like programs or offerings that you're creating. When you see what you're creating like is this ecosystem, and someone I really love, Sam Garcia, her book regenerative business, she talks about this idea of like your business as an ecosystem, and your book gets to be part of that. So if you're creating a program, like how does that align with your book? Like, how can your book be the foundation for that, or the program becomes the foundation for the book, or at least elements of the book? So rather than seeing them as individual projects where it can feel overwhelming, and like I fall into this all of the time, like everything I create, the books, the offerings, that I have in the business that we have with they're all aligned, they're all part of the same thing. But sometimes I'm like, oh my god, it just feels like a lot. And social media, it's like when I bring it back to no, it's all part of the same thing. And how can I, I'll pick up my book. I'm not saying you won't necessarily have a book like completed, but you will have some writing that you already have. And I will just open a page and go, okay, well, what wants to be shared today? What feels most alive for you? Allow your book to be the foundation. Like, see it all as the same thing. It just can feel very soothing to our nervous systems, rather than thinking about all of these individual things. Everything that we're creating is interconnected. And actually, if you're putting energy into your book, it's not like you're not putting energy into, like through that, you're still putting energy into your whole body of work. Yeah. Like, it's not like because you're putting your time and energy and love into one child that like it flows out into the whole family. I don't know if that's a good way of describing it, but very often what we're doing here is like reframing shifting the way that we are thinking about, that we are feeling into our process, because the ways we've been taught have sent us into constriction, tension. Something else I wanted to say. Yeah. There are different layers to this. Like, one of them is like bringing pleasure into the process as much as possible. And that can make it like seem more attractive. And in terms of like that routine, having that dedication or discipline, I talk about something in Unbound writing, divine discipline. Because discipline can feel like it's being imposed upon us. But like, you're choosing this, you're choosing to write your book, you're choosing to express your magic, your medicine in the world. So just asking the question, like, what am I writing in service to? Like, coming back to your intention. So that's about how we're writing. In terms of what you're writing, and actually this can apply not just to your book, but also, you know, this idea when we've got different projects and it can feel a bit like a lot. It's coming to a question. In terms of our books, it's thinking like, what is the journey I'm taking my reader on? And if you're working with clients, it's like, well, what is the journey I'm taking my clients on? What is the journey that I want to take my social media community on? You know, what is the journey that I want to take my email list on? But in terms of your book, just having a very, like, you know, in we go into more detail on this, like, what is the reader journey, like the different elements of it. But in very general terms, thinking, where am I taking my reader from? Like, where are they when they come to my book? And where do I want them to be? Or where do they want to be when they get to the end of the book? So, in terms of Heal Your Inner Good Girl, my first book, like, when they were coming to the book, there's probably this awareness that they had this part of them that was a perfectionist, that was kind of obsessed with getting it right, that wanted to fit in and please others. So they knew that part of them was there. There's already some awareness. So it's from kind of knowing that the inner good girl is there, and through the book, like, coming to live, express in a more unbound way. I'm not a fan of like talking about absolutes. It's not like through the journey of the book, it wasn't like I was taking them from, okay, at the beginning you're a good girl, at the end you're unbound, because we're always in process. Like, I'm not unbound completely now. I'm still very much in that process. My inner good girl is still very present. But that's the journey I was taking them on, or inviting them on. So having that can help us, like, especially at times maybe when you're feeling overwhelmed, it feels like there's a lot going on. Maybe you have been like going off in different directions for your writing. It's like, okay, but hang on, what was the journey that I was wanting to take my reader on? And it can be, you know, just one word, from to, you know, from chaos to calm, from calm to chaos. I'm not averse to a bit of chaos. You know, whatever it is, whatever it is. So, what's coming up for you around that? Do you have a sense of that journey that you're taking your reader on? Where are you taking them from? Where are you taking them to? That can help to kind of set the scene for what we're creating in our book and our whole writing process. So, how are we feeling? What's coming up? Any more questions? What is your biggest takeaway from today? There is so much more I could share, but I'm very conscious of not wanting to overwhelm with like everything I possibly could say about the book writing journey. And I'm aware I just asked about like 3 or 4 questions, so just pick whichever one feels good for you. Because we are getting to the point of completion of this process. And as questions continue, Helen, you're saying, thank you for reminding me about school. This could work well for what I want to achieve. Amazing. Amazing. I mean, it's a really good platform for community, I've found. So, yeah, as questions are bubbling up, please do continue to post them here. Obviously, if you're watching the replay, whatever is coming up for you, please do. I'm really, really happy to like come in and respond to any questions. If you have questions about like the content that's been shared, or anything that we haven't got to that you think, oh, I really like this, feels like it's tripping me up. Oh, Jane, you've joined. That's amazing. That's amazing. So excited. Yeah, anything that's been tripping you up that we haven't covered, put it here because I'm really, really, really happy to help with that. Emily, yes, I feel I need to let go of restrictive boxes or labels. The ecosystem model is so helpful. Like, I'm not a counsellor, I'm someone who can help take people from feeling lost or disconnected from themselves to claiming more of who they are. Knowing we are all in a shared human experience. This could happen in sessions or from my book or in a group. Yes. It's really interesting, the counsellor piece, isn't it, Emily? It can feel like quite a restrictive label. So, you know, when we kind of expand out and just like get this bigger picture of the work we're doing in the world, that's why I love books, actually, because when you say like I'm an author, it kind of gives you permission to yeah, to kind of bring all aspects of yourself. I absolutely love that. Clara, great advice as usual. Useful to think that some of my writing can be used as socials and vice versa. And the furtive 5 minutes, love that. Helen, you're 99% sure that you'll be joining us in school too. I'm curious about that 1%, but you know, I'm kind of with you. Somebody who is generally quite avoidant when it comes to commitment, I kind of get it. But I would love to see you over there, Helen. Emily, so restricted to be a counsellor. Yeah, that's why I'm not one. I love that I have that training. Like, it was so, so powerful, but nah, not for me. So, oh, my loves, so, so great. I've loved being with you the last 3 days. Like I said, I'm still here. And yeah, so do ask. Emily's laughing along. Emily and I both did our counselling training together back, way back. Yeah, but it was a really, really powerful experience. Loved it. Yeah, yeah. Use this space, make the most of it. And like I said, if you do want to journey on, do come and join us over in the school community. And if you want to explore working with us at the Unbound Press, working with me more deeply to actually birth your book into the world, I'm totally here for that. Just pop me a message, send me an email, and we can explore that option some more. Thank you so much for being part of this experience. Really, this challenge is nothing if it's just me talking talking to myself. It's you know, the connections that are happening here in the group. It's, you know, your comments and insights that really bring it alive. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for, you know, stepping into this process and being committed, or at least willing to go on this book writing journey, because like I 100% know that your book is needed. Your books are needed in the world. No pressure, but they are. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what wants to unfold from now on. I am going to go. You can kind of tell don't want to say goodbye. Um, but I will see you again very soon, I hope. Lots of love. And yeah, let's see what magic wants to be made.